Hello crypto friends, in this video I'm going to be going over our newest alert with the TradrPro Alerts system, and it is called the SuperStack alert, and I'll be going over some of the ways that I feel it is best utilized, and we will also go over some examples in the recent past as to when it has triggered. Have to give a shout out to TheChartGuys member Toby, who's been working behind the scenes over the last 6 months on this project, as well as the developers and Jason. And since putting this newest alert in play over the last 7 days, pretty much, we've had some really nice results that we'll look at shortly. So the SuperStack alert looks at multiple time frames simultaneously, and that's the biggest difference. We're looking across all these time frames we covered: 15-minute, 30-minute, hourly, 4-hour, and daily, and it only fires when it detects climactic overbought or oversold conditions on all of those time frames. So if it fires on the 15-minute, it's only on the 15-minute. To fire on the 30-minute, it's the 15-minute and the 30-minute meeting certain conditions. To fire on the daily, it's all the time frames meeting those certain conditions. So the longer term the time frame, the stronger that signal is going to be. And it's also something that we go in and tweak. We're going to talk a little bit in a moment about the importance of market conditions, because RSI on the hourly time frame hitting 30 in a daily and weekly uptrend is not the same as it hitting 30 in a daily and a weekly downtrend. So the prevailing trends and the market cycle are key in terms of knowing which signals we should be using and which time frames we should be focused on. And we, behind the system of this TradrPro Alert system, we go in and we tweak the criteria based on the market cycles. If it's a very bullish market, we're going to have the oversold climaxes signal a bit sooner because we know there's more people looking to buy dips, and we're going to have it trigger later in a downtrend when there's less people looking to buy dips. So that's how we are manually influencing the algos that are creating these alerts and firing them off. So there's a couple criteria that we need to determine before we determine which alerts we want to be acting on. The first is, are we day trading or swing trading? If we're day trading, we're going to be focusing on the alerts on the hourly, 30-minute, and 15-minute time frame. If we are swing trading, we're going to be focusing on alerts on the daily and 4-hour time frame. If we wanted to be aggressive, an hourly time frame would be the lowest we would go. That's criteria number one. Which are we looking at? Once you determine that, we then need to know what market cycle we are in. Are we in a daily and a weekly uptrend? Are we in a daily and a weekly downtrend? Those are two very different scenarios. Now, we can be in a scenario where we are in a weekly uptrend, but a daily downtrend, and it's the prevailing longer term trend that's going to matter more. But just for simplicity's sake, when we have both of those time frames trends going in the same direction, we can have a lot of confidence in the bulls when they're both going up and a lot of confidence in bears when they're both going down. So if the daily and the weekly chart are in uptrends, it's the shorter term oversold signals that we want to act on for bullish entries, because bulls are more active buying dips. It's stronger. We don't get oversold on longer term time frames when we're in a strong uptrend. We bounce off those short term time frames. The longer term overbought signals are for profit taking. So if I'm in a swing trade and the 15-minute volume climax goes off, or the overbought climax, or the SuperStack, I may ignore that. Some quick traders may scalp and exit and then quickly re-enter, but I don't care about the 15-minute time frame if I'm in a daily swing trade. Now, if the 4-hour and the daily overbought signals go off, whether it's the overbought climax or the SuperStack here, we are going to be looking to act on those by locking in partial positions and then being able to reload on any pullback. So I'm looking to buy short-term oversold conditions. So I'm looking at the 15-minute and the half-hour SuperStack buy signals, and I'm looking to sell and take profit on the SuperStack 4-hour and daily overbought signals. Now, if we're in a daily and a weekly downtrend, it's the opposite. I'm looking for longer term oversold bounce signals. You know, if we're in a daily and a weekly downtrend, the 15-minute oversold bounce doesn't really matter to me. I'm looking for the 4-hour climax. I'm looking for the 4-hour SuperStack. And if I am seeing short-term overbought signals on the downtrend, I want to be locking in profit. Let's say I'm looking to play a bounce and I enter on a 4-hour SuperStack alert that we're getting extreme to the downside. I then wait and I see a 15-minute SuperStack overbought. That tells me, okay, I made a nice entry, the bounce is underway, I should lock in some profit here because we are in a downtrend and we're extended to the upside on short-term conditions. So just to simplify again, right here on the screen, shorter term oversold bounces when we're in daily and a weekly uptrend, longer term overbought signals to take some profit, and the opposite in a daily and a weekly downtrend. Obviously, recently, we've been in a daily, weekly uptrend. We've had a very strong market. So the alerts that have been going off have been reflecting that. So here's an example on Bitcoin, the 15-minute time frame. So I can see 15-minute oversold climax, and I'm going over both the oversold climax and the SuperStack because they're fairly similar, but I just want to exemplify my point here. The 15-minute oversold conditions, these red arrows, are where they fire. And every single one on this move between January 25th and February 11th, every single oversold alert on the 15-minute has been a good buying opportunity. The overbought signals on the 15-minute time frame, yes, they oftentimes indicate some sideways chop is coming, but there's never any meaningful pullback from those overbought conditions. If I'm going to be looking to pay attention to overbought conditions to take profit, it's on a longer term time frame. So we have a strong uptrend. We are acting on short-term oversold signals, but we are not acting on short-term overbought signals. So here's now an example of Link USD on the 15-minute time frame, and we can see these SuperStack, these arrows. When they are small arrows, that means they're firing on the shorter term time frames. So these are firing on the 15-minute chart, and because there's a big arrow here, I know it fired on a lot of time frames, the 15-minute, the 30, the hourly, the 4-hour. So the short-term signals did get some nice follow-through. We had an overbought stack that led to some pullback, oversold stack led to some bounces twice, and this is looking back at February 16th a few days ago. But this big green arrow is showing us that on a lot of time frames, we're getting these overbought conditions. And this fired off in the 480s, the low 480s, and we can see every time frame that we zoom out, we no longer see the small arrows because those small arrows were on the shorter term time frames, but we're seeing the big arrows where it was going off on the longer term time frame. So ended up getting a little bit extended, saw a little bit more continuation, but the final SuperStack top hit, and then we pulled back a solid 20% from there, and here we are right back up testing resistance. So nice recovery from the bulls. But again, this is an instance where if you're in a swing position, a bullish swing position, taking profit on the SuperStack overbought signals on longer term time frames, and then looking to reload on those dips is a nice way to go. Another example here, we have ETH USDT on Binance, and again, longer term overbought signals. They started firing off, and if I want to look exactly where they fired off, I exit and I go into the log, and again, it tells me exactly the price and the time that that alert went out. So the first one went off at 280, we continued a bit higher to 288.41, and we look at the chart, and that marked the top. The top was 288.41 to the penny. We then pulled back to 237. So we pulled back again 20%. So scaling out into strength and then looking to reload as long as we're still in a daily uptrend. So the last example here, we've got Bitcoin on the 4-hour time frame, and these are the SuperStack oversold signals. So we ended up firing one off here on the bottom. We bounced. That wasn't the exact bottom. So again, scaling out partial position. If I enter on this signal and we start to bounce, if I exit half of my position, I then am sitting pretty in that trade where worst case scenario is break even. We then fired off again after dropping to a lower low, and that marked the bottom. So putting ourselves in position where worst case scenario, break even, stop out, and ideally we get bounce follow through to make it a nice profitable trade. So those are the examples. Check out the free week trial. See if you like the SuperStack alert. I certainly like it at this point. Overbought and oversold climax were already my favorite alert, and they can work together. If you get an overbought and oversold climax in addition to the SuperStack, then it only solidifies our confidence in that signal. And there's different criteria that go into both of those alerts, but they're similar in the sense that they are both indicating extreme conditions. So as always, if this alert system helps you, use it. If it doesn't and you don't find value in it, don't use it. But fortunately, we've had a lot of people give a lot of positive feedback where all it takes is one trade and they have multiple months or even a year paid off. And that's the ideal scenario. So thanks for tuning in. Feel free to ask any questions. We got multiple people standing by looking to help answer questions, help with setups, and I appreciate you watching. Have a good rest of your day.